The alien raised his voice. Towering over the girl, you'll see the moment one teenage girl destroyed an elite alien soldier without lifting a weapon. And why this girl, Kara Voss, became the most dangerous human alive. This isn't a story about saving the world. This is a warning to the stars. Humanity was never weak. We were just waiting for someone to pick a fight. The sky above New Amsterdam was dark, but not from clouds. Something massive blocked the sun. People stopped in the streets. Cars froze at intersections. Children stared up. Some pointed. Some screamed. A ship the size of a mountain hovered above the city, its surface smooth, black like oil. No windows, no lights.
Ow.
Just shadow and silence. Then a beam of white light slammed into the city square, and from it, something came down. The crowd screamed as a massive figure stepped forward, 10 feet tall, skin like metal, 4 arms, a face like a skull, eyes glowing red. An alien, but not just any, Drex Prime Enforcer, the kind of creature sent only when talks are over. And death is the message he walked through. The crowd, slow, heavy, people scattered like rats. But one girl stood still, Kara Voss, jeans, hoodie, a backpack slung over one shoulder. She looked like any other teen, but she didn't move. The enforcer stopped in front. Of her, he looked down, curious, amused, primitive species. He growled, "Your planet will kneel. Starting with you." He raised one clawed finger. 10 seconds. Kara tilted her head, her face calm. The enforcer's eyes narrowed. He counted 10. 9. The moment he said 8, her left hand twitched at 7. She stepped forward, one smooth motion. No warning. No wasted energy. Her hand struck his chest with a soft thud. Didn't look like much, but inside his body, bone-shattered nerves screamed. A wave of invisible force traveled through him like lightning. His legs buckled, his mouth opened. No sound came out. He dropped to his knees. Then face first onto the stone tiles, unmoving.
Ow.
The crowd froze. No one clapped, no one cheered, because no one understood what they had just seen. Kara stepped over his body quietly, like stepping over spilled trash. She kept walking past stunned faces, past open mouths. One child reached up and touched her hand. She gave the child a small smile, then disappeared into the alley behind her. The alien's body began to smoke, and inside the giant warship above, alarms started to ring on the dark side of Earth's moon. A hidden listening post picked up the signal. AI systems flagged the event. A red alert went straight to the Pentagon, and to something far older than the Pentagon. A program so secret, even most generals didn't know it existed. Project Atlas. Kara sat on a rooftop an hour later, watching the sun return to the sky. Her hoodie torn, her pulse steady. She touched her wrist. A faint blue light flickered beneath the skin. Not tech. Magic. Something else. Something built. A voice came through her earpiece. It was cold, sharp. "You've been seen. Too early. You were not supposed to engage." Kara didn't answer. She stared out at the city. The streets below were empty now. Police, soldiers, drones swarming like ants trying to figure out what happened. She knew they'd never find an answer. Not in time. The voice spoke again. "Do you know what you've done?" She closed her eyes and whispered, "Yes, light years away, in the Zarkith spiral." An alien war council watched the footage. They saw a teenage girl break a Drex enforcer with one strike. No weapons, no armor, no fear. They watched it again and again, trying to find the trick. There was none. Silence filled the chamber. Then a voice said what they all feared. "If this is one, how many more are there?"
Oh.
A second voice answered, "She must be eliminated." But the eldest among them shook his head. His skin was white as paper, his eyes like black glass. "If she is a product, then we face not one enemy, but a species back on Earth." Kara entered an abandoned warehouse beneath it. A hidden elevator took her down far below the city. A door hissed open in. Old man stood waiting, gray-beard, eyes sharp as ice. He didn't speak, he just looked at her. Then at the blood on her boots, she gave a small nod. "I had to." He sighed, then turned away. "It's begun then." She followed him into the darkness. On the walls were holograms of stars, fleet movements, alien languages, names of alien generals marked in red. He touched one image, A Drex mothership they'll be. More they won't stop now, Kara nodded. I won't either. Above Earth. The alien ship remained still but inside. A new command was given Planet Earth status, hostile engage phase, to Anne somewhere. In the heart of the ship, second enforcer opened his eyes. This one was bigger, smarter, built to kill the last being that killed his brother and yet. In the warehouse, Kara stood before a mirror. She opened her hoodie beneath her skin. Something moved, metal, fused with muscle veins glowing with light. She was not a soldier, not exactly she. Was Project Atlas, the last of her kind, the first of something new. And now the galaxy would learn what Earth had been hiding, what humanity had created, what waited in the dark, not to conquer, not to enslave, but to survive, to strike back. And next time they wouldn't get 7 seconds. You have 10 seconds to kneel. She didn't flinch. At second 7, his spine cracked like dry wood, and the war began. Everything began before she was born, before the warships, before the sky turned black, before the galaxy even noticed Earth. Began in a cold lab deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a place with no name, only a number facility. 9. No one entered, unless they were invited, and no one ever left unless they were erased. Inside, a group of scientists stood around a tank. A child floated inside, tiny, perfect, glowing faint blue beneath the skin. She would be called Karashi, was the first but not the only one project. Atlas was born out of fear, not fear of aliens, not fear of war, but fear of being too late, because Earth had always known they were not alone. They just never said it out, Ludan's secret. They watched the stars, they caught strange signals they found, pieces of ships, dead creatures, and the dark things that couldn't be explained. And then one day, they found a warning buried inside an asteroid. A message from a lost species. They are coming, so Earth built something, not ships, not bombs, but people, faster, stronger, smarter, silent weapons for a war. No one was ready. For Kara was never like other kids. She didn't cry when she fell, she didn't sleep when it rained. Her bones were stronger than steel. Her blood carried nanothreads, her brain processed information 10 times faster than normal. She was not a robot, she was not a clone. She was something in between, a bridge between what was and what needed to be. By age 5, she could break concrete with her fists. By age 7, she could speak 7 languages. By age 10, she could beat trained soldiers in close combat. The world above never knew, because Project Atlas was never meant to be used. It was a final card, a last breath, and then it was shut down. Too dangerous, too unstable to human. Other children were erased. Erased from files, erased from memory, erased from life phone. One was left, Kara, because she was different. She didn't follow orders. She made her own choices. She looked at the stars and asked questions no one could answer. So they let her go, not because they trusted her, but because they were afraid of what she'd do if they didn't. Disappeared into the world, hiding in plain sight. Until the day the Drex came. In the silence of Facility 9, the lights turned red. Old systems woke up. Emergency protocol Atlas Alpha engaged. The project was no longer dormant. It was alive, and the man who created it, the one called Director Voss, Kara's creator, her father, returned to the center of the storm he stood in front of. The main screen watched the footage of his daughter breaking the alien. No one else could have done it. No one else would have dared. He touched the screen, her face frozen mid-strike. Eyes cold, body calm. She's activated, he whispered all around him. Holograms lit up, weapons, ship blueprints, alien, anatomy scans, encrypted files. Marked top SECRIT1 folder opened, labeled Kara 1, Atlas. Prime inside her genetic code, training logs, kill ratios, a red line across the file, lethality level. UNKO, EONKO, AONKO, OAKOO, AOA cross. The galaxy alien eyes watched the same footage. Some were silent, some were afraid. Some were angry, but one species was curious. The Ulari, masters of biotech. Seekers of truth, they sent a message into deep space, not to Earth, but to someone hidden among the stars. Observe the human female report, if others exist. Determine if Earth must be removed. The message bounced between satellites, slipped past Earth's defenses, and reached someone watching from orbit. A sleeper agent, living on the moon in a crater. Base disguised as Rocky, opened his eyes. Inhuman, golden cold, he smiled back on Earth. Kara walked through the ruins of an old subway station. Empty, forgotten, covered in graffiti and dust. She stepped into the shadows, placed her hand on the wall. It scanned her palm, her blood, her bones. The wall opened, a staircase led down into darkness. She walked slowly, each step echoing like thunder. At the bottom, a chamber glowed with soft blue light. This was her place. Her memory chamber, a place only she knew inside. Where weapons, suits, maps, files. Anna Mirachet stood in front of it, took off her hoodie, rolled up her sleeves. Her skin shimmered, not like metal, not like flesh, something in between. Shay looked at her reflection, not with pride, not with fear, but with purpose. She whispered to herself, "They're coming back." She opened a box on the shelf. Inside was an old bracelet. Black plain. She snapped it onto her wrist. It sank into her skin. Vanished systems came online. She felt it in her veins, a low hum. Power, raw and sleeping. Then the bracelet spoke. Atlas. Prime active, welcome back. Kara, miles above. The alien warship still hung in the sky. Its commander watched the data stream. Drex. Enforcers did not fall, not like that. Not ever. He turned to his second. In command voice like cracking ice, find her, study her, then burn her world. But he didn't know, he didn't understand. She was already studying the man. She wasn't alone anymore. In Facility 9, Director Voss activated a protocol. He swore never to touch a Genico, cell, a hidden lab deep beneath the others. Sealed since the project ended. Inside were backups, failed versions, scraps of the past, but one pod was still working inside. Something moved, not human, not alien, a mix of Boda. Prototype. He typed one command, awaken Kara, moved through the alleyways like a ghost. Drones passed overhead, searching, scanning, but never seeing. She remembered the faces of the other kids, the ones they erased. She remembered their names, their laughs, their screams. They deserved justice. And now she would give it, not for revenge, not for glory, but because no one else could. She looked up at the stars, the ship still there, still waiting. She narrowed her eyes, then vanished into the dark somewhere above. The moon turned, a shadow shifted, and the sleeper agent whispered into his come target as awake phase. To approved, the war had begun, but no one knew it, yet except her and the ones coming for her. And now the galaxy would learn the name Kara Vosnot. As a girl, not as a soldier, but as the storm that follows silence. The forest was quiet, not peaceful. Quiet, not sleepy quiet. It was the kind of quiet that made animals run and birds disappear. Something had landed here, not a ship, not a weapon. Something worse. 5 shadows moved between the trees. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They moved as one, smooth, fast, perfect each. One was a Drex hunter, elite killers, hand-picked, genetically sharpened. Each with one purpose, find the human girl. And Hertha, leader, had 4 eyes, all black, all scanning. He lifted his hand, signaled, stop. The other 4 froze in place, not even breathing. The tracker on his wrist beeped once, soft. Barely there, but it was enough. She was close, less than 30 meters. She knew they were Herond. She was waiting. They didn't hesitate. Split into pairs, moved like snakes. No scent, no sound. But Kara wasn't running. She was standing in the center of a wide clearing. Alone, no armor, no weapons, just a girl in a black hoodie. Hands in her pockets, face calmed. The first Drex leaped from behind. Her twin blades out, screeching like metal fire. She stepped to the side, 1 inch, 1 breath. He flew past, slamming into a tree. The bark exploded. His body didn't move again for left. They didn't scream, didn't panic. They circled, closing in. Kara looked at her watch. The screen flash re-engaged. She smiled. The second Drex attacked from the front, spear aimed at her chest. She ducked, grabbed the spear, twisted. It snapped like dry bone. Then she turned, swung the broken half into his leg. The sound was wet. His leg bent the wrong way. He fell hard, crawling, bleeding. 3 left. Now, they hesitated just for a second, but she saw it. Smelled it, fear. The third and fourth charged together, fangs out, claws. Glowing. Kara ran straight at them, not away, straight into their charge. The third swung, missed. The fourth stabbed, connected. But nothing happened. Her skin absorbed the blade. No blood, no wound. She grabbed him by the wrist, pulled him in, head-butted him once. His skull cracked. He dropped like a puppet with no string. She turned to the third, who had already started to run too late. She picked up the broken spear. Threw it. Tit spun fast, screaming through the air, hit him in the back. He flew forward, hit the ground, didn't get up. One left the leader he hadn't moved. He watched it all. Now he stepped into the clearing. Slow, careful. He looked at her. She looked back, then he did something strange. He spoke not in his language. In hers, you are not natural, he said. Kara tilted her head. No one is, she said. He lowered his weapons. I was told to kill you, he said, but I will not. She didn't move. He dropped his sword, dropped his pack, dropped his pride. I will leave, he said. I will tell them. She nodded. Once he turned, limped away, vanished into the trees, but Kara knew he wouldn't just tell them what happened. He would tell them what she was and what Earth had become in orbit. The Drex command ship received the transmission, audio only, broken, shaky. This thing, not human, not machine, dangerous. Do not engage. Do not. Then static. The commander crushed his screen with one hand. He turned to the other's eyes, burning. She's a weapon, he growled. Earth is not what we thought. Behind him, a younger officer whispered, she killed 4 of our best. The commander nodded. Then we send the worst. Back on Earth, Kara stood in the clearing alone again, breathing slow. The wind blew through the trees, carrying the scent of sap and blood. She looked at her hands, flexed them. No bruises, no scratches, but inside something stirred. The system in her blood, the machine under her skin. It was evolving, reacting, waking. She heard a voice in her head, cold, clear version to initializing combat efficiency, increasing motional. Dampener stable. Shay ignored it. She had always ignored it. But now it was louder. Shay picked up a fallen Drex weapon, studied its strange metal, vibrated with energy. She broke it in half, dropped the pieces. Then she walked away, but not before whispering, let them come far away in a hidden bunker. Director Voss watched the footage. Drones had followed the fight, recorded every move. He watched his daughter kill 4 Drex hunters in under 60 seconds and spare the 5th. He smiled, but it was not a happy smile. She's stronger than before, he said. She's starting to change. His assistant looked nervous. Should we recall her, he asked. Voss shook his head. She's the only one who can stop what's coming. He opened a sealed file, marked Atlas INDGA, inside photos, blueprints, coordinates, and one word in red, extinction, and the moon inside a crater base. The alien sleeper agent opened a channel. His voice was smooth. No emotion. She passed the test, he said. Confirm threat. Level Omega. The reply came quickly. Continue observation. He nodded, understood, but he wasn't just watching anymore. He was planning, because even among the stars there are those who fear the unknown, and Kara Voss was more unknown than anything the galaxy had ever seen. That night Kara returned to her hideout, an old school buried under rubble. She pushed open the rusted doors, walked past empty desks, faded chalkboards, shattered memories. She went to the gym, sat in the center, crossed her legs, closed her eyes. She listened not to sounds, but to thoughts, to signals, to the whisper of machines inside her. They were talking to each other, updating, evolving. She heard them, felt them, became them, and for the first time she understood something. She was not just part of Atlas. Shay was Atlas. Shan. The war hadn't started yet. Not really, but it wouldn't. When it did, she would be ready, not because she wanted to fight, but because no one else couldn't. She would make sure that only one species walked away from it. Far from Earth, beyond the edge of mapped space, past dust rings, comet fields, and shattered moons, a space station drifted between twin stars. Its surface was gold and glass, like a crown hanging in the dark. This was the core Senate, the center of galactic law, where peace was kept, where war was made, where billions of lives were shaped by a single vote inside. Hundreds of alien species gathered, each with a voice, each with a fear, each staring at the same glowing screen. A girl, a human, standing still. While 5 Drex hunters died around Hertha, footage had played 27 times. No sound, no edit, just truth. She moved like nothing they had seen. No delay, no effort, no mercy. The chamber was silent. Even the Krolk's ambassadors stopped hissing, and they never stopped hissing. One of the speakers floated forward, a creature of silk and light, long limbs, eyes like suns. He raised his hands. This is not evolution, he said. This is fabrication, a weapon with a face that smiles while it kills, murmurs. Spread ripples of fear, some nodded, some shook their heads, all waited. Then the Drex ambassador stepped forward. Larger than most, scarred, missing 2 fingers from his lower hand, he growled, "She is not just a danger to my kind. She is a danger to order. To balance to life, she must be erased. Her world must be silenced." Another voice rose small, but clear. It came from the human seat empty for years. Occupied now by a single man in a plain gray suit, he stood calmly, looked at them all, then spoke. "You came. To us, we did not reach for you. We did not invade your worlds. We did not break your treaties. You saw us as weak as praying. How you are afraid. Because we dared to defend ourselves, some shifted in their seats, uncomfortable, guilty. But the Drex laughed. Bred a monster, he said, and monsters must be destroyed." The man nodded, "Maybe. But what happens when the monster bites back?" A low hum spread through the chamber. Lights dimmed, a vote was being called. The golden orb above the floor began to spin, projecting words in every language. "Vote begins now. Motion. Immediate action against planet Earth category. Total neutralization result. Extermination 1 by 1. Lights blinked green for yes, red for no, blue for abstain. The orb turned faster. The man from Earth did not vote. He simply watched. 113 species, 78 voted green. 19 voted red. 16 did not vote. The result flashed above them. "I'll exterminate Earth." The chamber fell silent again. The Drex smiled. "It is done," he said, but the man from Earth remained still. Then he reached into his coat, pulled out a small black cube, placed it on the floor. It clicked once. Projected a map, not of Earth, not of any star system. Was the map of the core Senate itself. Then he whispered, "This was your vote. Now here is ours." The cube glowed, and the chamber shook. Every screen went dark. Every signal was jammed. Every defense protocol shut off for 7 seconds. The most protected place in the galaxy was blind, helpless. Then it stopped. The lights returned. The air was coldened. The man from Earth was gone only. The cube remained still, glowing, still watching back on Earth. Kara walked through a quiet mountain town. Shops closed, windows covered, no sound, but the wind. She could feel it in the air. The tension, the storm that hadn't arrived yet, but would soon. Her wristband flashed once, a new signal. Encrypted emergency level 6C, touched the nearest metal pole. A wire inside sparked. Connected to her system, a voice came through. They voted. They chose extermination, strike fleet en route, time to impact 48 hours. Kira said nothing. She looked up at the sky blue, still calm, still pretending, but not for long in orbit. The alien fleet was already moving, ships shaped like claws, like bones, like fire, each one armed with weapons that could split mountains, boil oceans, rip a planet apart from the inside. They did not come to fight. They came to a race inside facility 9. Director Voss paced between screens, hands shaking, eyes sharp. "They did it," he said. "They actually did it." His assistant nodded. "We have less than 2 days." Voss stared at Kara's file, her eyes in the photo, not angry, not afraid, just waiting. He opened a locked drawer, pulled out a case, black, heavy, sealed with his DNA inside. A key, a single piece of tech. He placed it on the table. "Activate the array," he said. The assistant froze. "Sir, that's a planet killer." Voss nodded. "Exactly, back in the mountains." Kara stood in a field of tall grass, wind brushing her hair. She could feel the fleet moving like a storm behind the clouds. She closed her eyes, opened her mind. The Atlas systems answered. Target acquired. Enemy fleet trajectory confirmed. Energy pattern. Hostile threat level. Extinction. Then she whispered, "Time to wake up." The grass around her began to shimmer. Tiny machines buried years ago rose to the surface. They crawled up her legs. Her arms merged with her skin. Her eyes turned white. Her pulse slowed, then vanished. She was no longer just Karashi, was Atlas Prime in the stars. Would remember that name. The lead ship of the alien fleet, the commander, stood before a screen showing Earth spinning slowly. Calm, open, he smiled. "They are not ready," he said. They never were, but deep inside he wondered. He had seen the footage he had. Read the reports he had listened to. The survivor, she is not human. He remembered him saying, "She is death, given form still." Orders were orders, and he would carry them out even if it was the last thing he did. Underground. Voss entered a vault sealed for 20 years. Inside were weapons never tested, programs never finished, names never spoken. He walked past empty pods, past dusty screens. Until he reached a terminal, he placed his hand on it. It scanned his bones, his heartbeat, his soul. Then it spoke. "Welcome. Director Voss, do you wish to activate Omega Protocol?" He whispered. Yes. The room changed. Walls opened. Lights turned. Red Earth was no longer just waiting. Earth was preparing to strike in the sky. Stars shifted, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. And far beyond that, in places no map reached, old beings watched. Some were amused. Some were afraid because humanity had always been the child in the room, but now they were standing, and the room would never be the same again. The fortress hung in space like a wound, massive, silent, waiting. It was shaped like a blade, sharp edges, black walls, no lights on the outside, no sound inside. It was the heart of the fleet, the command center, the place where every order began, where death was planned and sent out across the stars. No one had ever entered it without permission. No one had ever escaped it once. Inside until now, Kara floated in the dark, no ship, no suit, just heard the stars behind her were cold. Unmoving, and ahead the fortress loomed like a mountain in the void. She moved closer, slow, controlled, no engines, no signals. The machines in her body whispered, adjusting her orbit, changing her temperature, making her invisible to every scan. She reached the outer hull, placed one hand on the metal, felt the vibrations inside, knew the pattern of the guards, knew where the weak points, where she pressed her palm to the surface. The metal hissed, softened, melted around Hirsch. She slipped through like smoke. Now she was inside. Hall was dark, wider than a street, walls pulsing with strange light, ceilings alive with moving wires. Kara walked without sound. Her body matched the air. Her heat signature vanished. She was a ghost inside the belly of a god-ahead to direct soldiers. Stood at a checkpoint, 6 eyes, each heavy armor, laser spears crackling with blue flame. She crouched, waited. One of them turned, paused, looked right at her, but saw nothing. She moved fast. A blur. The first soldier reached for his come to late. She touched his throat, a flash of blue light. His body went still, then dropped. The second turned, raised his weapon. She caught it, bent it, snapped it. Then she placed her hand over his face. His eyes glowed for a second. Then dim. She kept walking. No alarms, no noise. The fortress did not know yet, but it would. In the command chamber, the alien commander paced in front of a massive screen. It showed Earth rotating slowly, target markers blinking across the surface. He smiled. "They will burn," he said, "one shot at a time." But behind him, a red light blinked, then went dark. A technician looked up, confused. Checked again, nothing. There, he shrugged. Went back to work. Kara moved through the corridors, each turn memorized, each step calculated. She passed labs, prison cells, weapon bay. She saw things no human had ever seen. Torture machines, hive codes, genetic weapons, growing in tanks. But she did not stop, not yet. She reached the core chamber. A tall tower in the center of the fortress, protected by 6 guards, 3 drones, and a gravity field that could crush stone. She stepped into the gravity zone. Her feet sank, her skin rippled. The pressure tried to break her bones, but she walked forward. The drones locked onto her, fired. She raised one hand. A pulse of energy flashed out. The shots stopped in midair, fell like raindrops. The guards charged, blades drawn. Moving fast, she was faster. She ducked, spun, struck 3 down in seconds. The others hesitated. But only for a breath. She used that breath, and when it was over, they were all on the ground. She stood before the core door. It was alive, made of shifting panels, reading her, rejecting her, until she reached into her pocket and pulled out the cube, the same cube left in the Senate chamber. She pressed it to the door. It clicked once, glowed blue, then red, then opened. She stepped inside. The core chamber was quiet, a wide round space. Walls covered in data streams, floating screens, languages from 1,000 worlds in the center, a single pillar rising up, pulsing with energy, the mind of the fortress. Kara approached it, her steps silent. She placed her hand on the pillar. It resisted, buzzed, fought back, but her mind was stronger. She reached deep, past the firewalls, past the traps, past the memory. She planted her code. One word: mercy. Then she left outside. The alarms screamed, lights turned red, guns powered up, guards swarmed to late. She was already gone. A hole opened in the hull. She launched herself into space no suit. No ship, just her body, her code, her will. The commander heard the alarms, turned, screamed. What happened? He shouted. The technician pointed a message blinking on the main screen system. Compromised infiltration complete. Countdown initiated. The commander froze. Countdown to what? Then the lights flickered on. The fortress began to shake in deep space. A satellite turned toward Earth beamed a message to a secure frequency. Kara's voice came through, calm, clear. Target destabilized, mission complete. Time to wake the others. Underground in Facility 9, Director Voss stood before a chamber marked phase. TWO inside rows of empty beds and one full one. He pressed his hand to the glass. She did it, he said. The assistant nodded. What now? Voss whispered. Now we bring back the program. He turned to the control panel. Pressed the button. The chamber lights turned blue. The bed opened and a second figure sat up high. Glowing breath, slowing, other Atlasine. Another storming orbit. The fortress spun in place, systems failing. AI screaming. The commander tried to regain control, but the screen only showed one thing, a single phrase. You had your chance, then silence, then light. The fortress exploded in complete silence. No debris, no warning. Just a bloom of white that faded into the stars far below. Kara landed in the ocean, steam rising off her body. She walked out wet, unshaken. She looked at the horizon, clouds building, sky turning red. She smiled. The galaxy thought they made the first move, but this was never their game, not anymore. And now they would learn what it meant to push a human to four, especially one built for the end. Beneath the ice, under a land no one visited, where compasses failed, where the sun never stayed, there was a door. It had no lock, no switch, no keypad, opened only when the world was near its end. And now it was. The storm was already on its way. Not clouds, not rain, but fire from the stars, carried by ships that glowed like knives, alien fleets like metal wolves, moving fast, moving close. Human eyes tracked them, not from cities, not from satellites, but from bunkers deep below the crust, from places not listed on any map, from men and women who were told, if this day comes, there is no tomorrow, only choice. One man stood in the center of the command hall. His uniform old, but his eyes sharp. He had no medals, no name on his chest, only a key around his. Niki looked up at the red warning light, then at the others in the room. He did not speak a word. He just placed the key into the center console. Turned it once. The room fell silent. Then the floor beneath them opened, revealing a chamber none had ever seen. A sphere floated in the air, black as the void, pulsing like a heart, cold and perfect. This was the Aegis, a rain, a weapon of war. But Avaratia had no missiles, no lasers. It needed no fuel, no crew. It was alive in ways that science did not explain, built by hands that were human but guided by something older, something buried under Mars, something that whispered when the stars turned red. Let me rise across. The world power grids shifted, satellites blinked out, cameras stopped working. No one outside the array team knew what was coming, not governments, not generals, not even Caribus, because this weapon was hidden even from Project Atlas. Only the old protocols knew, the kind that were burned into stone, not typed into screens in the cold chamber. The man spoke. Begin. Sync. The sphere responded, not with words, but with sound. A low hum that cracked the walls, a pressure that made blood run slow. Then the maps appeared. 12 targets, all alien ships, all heading for Earth. He stared at the first one, largest of them all. The command ship. The screen showed its heat, its crew, its weapons. Then it showed a question: engage. The man blinked. Yes, the room lit up like a sun had risen underground and above. In the sky, the clouds parted, not by heat, but by fear. Something moved, invisible to radar, faster than light, a ripple in space. It did not fire anything. It simply touched the enemy ship, banned a ship, vanished. No explosion, no wreckage, no sound, just gone like it had never been there. The alien fleet paused, sensors screamed, maps broke, commanders shouted without answers. They turned their eyes to the stars. Searched for the weapon, but found nothing. They spoke in 1,000 languages, all asking the same thing: what did Earth do? What just happened? But no one answered, not even Earth. Back in the array chamber, the man looked at the second target, smaller, but still a threat. Engage. Gone by the time the 7th target vanished. The room had grown cold. The walls cracked from within. The lights flickered, the sphere pulsed. Faster, brighter, almost breathing, then it stopped. Just once the hum fell quiet, the lights dimmed on, the screens turned black. The voice of the array spoke at last. One word enough. The man stepped back, sweat on his face, his hands shaking, his heart unsure. He looked at the others. The weapon had limits. It was not meant for victory, it was meant for warning. And the message was now clearing orbit. What remained of the alien fleet pulled back. Some ships turned. Some stayed, but none moved forward. They had seen death without fire, destruction without noise, power they did not understand, could not fight, could not stop. Now they knew Earth had been hiding more than soldiers, had been hiding truth on the ground. Kara felt it, the energy in the sky, the way. Space bent, she looked, up, whispered a word. No, this was not part of the plan. This was not her mission. This was something else, something deeper, something older. She touched the earth beneath her, felt the pattern of the world. The pulse had changed. The planet itself had changed. She knew what it meant. They had opened the vaults. She ran back in the array chamber. The sphere slowly dimmed, returned to silence. But something remained, not a sound, not a light, but a presence. It was awake now, not fully, not yet, but soon. The man removed the key, looked at it, then at the sphere. His voice cracked. I pray we never turn it again. He left the room. Alone, but not unwatched, because the array was watching now, and it never slept across the galaxy. Other races felt it, even those who had not joined the Senate, even those who had never seen Earth. They felt the void open and close again. Ancient minds, living in stars, sleeping under planets, opened their eyes. Some smiled, some wept, because they had seen this before, and it always ended the same way. With silence, Kara reached the edge of a forgotten facility. Not on any map, not in any file. She broke the door with her hands, walked through dust and bones, reached the old terminal. It flickered, showed one Nemesis protocol. She stared at it, unblinking, unmoving. Then she whispered, "Why?" Now the screen answered with a code only she could read. It was not from the array, not from her father, not from Earth. It was from the thing beneath it all, the mind that never died, the voice that waited. And the code said one thing: you are not enough. She stepped back, shook her head, closed her eyes. No, she was built to protect, not to destroy. She was human. She was. At least she would not let the stars burn without reason. She would not become what they feared. She turned, left the facility faster than before, because now she was not fighting aliens. She was fighting her own people, and if they pushed that button again, she would be the one to stop them, even if it meant turning against Earth itself. It began with silence, not peace, not stillness, but the kind of silence that comes before the end. When the world knows it is about to break and chooses to listen one last time, the stars above Earth dimmed, not from shadow but from fear. A shape appeared, so massive, so wrong, it twisted space around it, bent light, like paper made gravity scream. The galactic overlord had come, not a ship, not a fleet, but a being. He did not fly. He moved like a mountain rising from the ocean, like thunder deciding to walk. His body was made of black stone, his eyes two storms trapped in glass. His voice was not heard, it was felt in bones, in memories, in regrets. He stepped into low orbit and spoke only once: I have seen your fire now. See mine. And then the skies began to fall. Kara stood on the tallest peak, hair whipping like fire, eyes glowing brighter than the clouds above. She said nothing, she waited. She had no armor, no army, no command, no her hands. Right. Her breath, her willand, that was enough. The clouds parted, a beam of light touched the mountain, and the overlord descended. His feet did not touch the ground, but the earth cracked anyway. He looked at her, not as an enemy, not as prey, but as a mistake that dared to speak. He raised his hand, and reality rippled. The air exploded, not with fire, but with memory. Every loss, every scream, every human death carved into the wind. It rushed at Kara, tried to drown her in sorrow, tried to crush her with truth, but she stood firm. She had seen pain, lived through endings, built herself from ashes. She raised her own hand, and the storm broke. They clashed without touching, every step a quake, every breath a blade. He swung with power that shattered moons. She dodged with grace, shaped in war. He roared, and mountains crumbled. She whispered, and winds obeyed the sky above. burned red lightning without sound, rain without water, time slowed. Space folded, and still they fought. The Overlord grew larger, his form shifting, more arms, more eyes, more rage. He spoke in 10 voices across 10 dimensions. I was born before your sun, I ended worlds while you were dust. I watched your kind crawl from mud. And now you dare resist, Kara answered with 1 step forward. I do not resist, I end this. She leapt, the mountain shattered behind her, the sky screamed in. White her fist glowed with light, no science could name, made from hope, hate, love, laws. She struck, he caught her hand, laughed. Pushed back, the ground cracked open, lava spilled, the clouds above vanished. He tried to crush her, but her other hand rose, touched his chest, and she spoke, a name not as hers, Karand. It was enough. The Overlord staggered, his form trembled, his eyes dimmed. You are not human, you are not real. She not a die was made, but I chose to be. She dug deep into him, into the mind beneath the stone. The fear beneath the power, she saw what he hid, loneliness. He was the last of his kind, the last king of a dead empire, ruling ghosts. Feeding on memory, he was not a god. He was afraid, and in that moment he broke his body, cracked his arms, fell his voice. Felled, she held him not with anger but with silence, and she whispered, it's over. He looked at her for the first time, not as an enemy, but as a mirror, and then he vanished, not destroyed, not killed, just gone like a dream that ends when you finally understand. Kira fell to one knee, not from pain, but from weight. The weight of it all, of victory, of loss, of knowing the galaxy would never be the same again. The clouds above cleared, the stars returned. The winds grew still, was safe, for now the world cheered. But Kara did not hear it. She heard only her breath, her heart, her thoughts. She looked to the sky where he had stood, where the end had almost begun, and she whispered again, I choose to be, and with that she walked down the mountain step by step, as herself not a weapon, not a soldier, not a tool, but human, completely, finally, forever. Was not peace, it was not war, it was the space between. Earth turned slowly, clouds healed, oceans breathed, cities lit up like stars reborn.
Oh, what?
Something deep in the soil remembered. The fight was over, but not forgotten. Kara walked through the ashes of what was ruins of weapons. She never asked to be part of statues of her face, built too soon by hands that never knew her. She was a name, now a symbol, a savior, but symbols cannot sleep. They cannot laugh, they cannot choose. She wanted to choose, so she ran through desert, through frost, through silence. She found the door again. Not the door of the array, not the vault, but the door she feared most. The door inside herself. Behind it were questions, sharp as blades, cold as space. Who was she if not a weapon? Who was she if not the protector? Who was she if Earth no longer needed her hand? Worse, what if it did? She sat by a lake that was not on any map, watched birds that had no names, listened to the wind say nothing there. She heard them, the voices not in her ears, but in her blood, not commands, not orders, but memories. From before she knew how to think, from the lab, from the pain, from her creators. We built you, we shaped you, you are ours. She smiled and said the words that ended them. Maya, mine, but the stars were not quiet beyond Mars, beyond Saturn, beyond the edge of charts. Something moved, something older than war, older than empires, older than the Overlord himself. Fit, had no shape, no name, just hunger, and now it had heard of Earth. Kara stood again, eyes on the night sky, hands still, heart steady. She knew the pattern, the silence before the scream, the way the universe warned those it feared, and now it feared Earth because of Hertha. Senate called her sent. Ships, ambassadors, gifts, pleas. They wanted her back to lead, to rule, to fight, but she said nothing. She had one task left, not to destroy, not to protect, but to decide. She returned to the mountain where the Overlord had fallen, where the stars had been tanned. Waited, the wind carried dust, and in it a voice not human, not alien, not alive. We watched you, we feared you. Now we ask you, Chizé. Light formed in the sky, not fire, not metal. We get Kate pulsed slowly. Each beat a question. Will you open us? Will you walk through? Will you become marine side? That light was knowledge, power, truth, beyond minds. The next step, but the cost was simple. Leave Earth behind leave, love leave, pain leave, self become more, and never return she. Looked down at her hands scarred, calloused human she. Looked up at the light, perfect, terrifying, beautiful. She smiled once more, and whispered to no one, not yet. The gate faded like a sigh, like a dream lost to morning she stayed on earth. Among the flawed, among the hopeful not, because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because it was real, and real was enough. Kara walked into the forest. No cameras, no voices, no statues, just green, just breath. Just choicened, as the wind rustled the trees, she vanished, no grave, no goodbye, no legend, only this somewhere out there the galaxy waits. But Earth has her guardian, and she is watching, and she is ready if the stars come again. So will she, but until that day she lives as she chooses.